Yasu, Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, Allah. I think that just about covers a greeting for everybody, which is nice. So, the Egyptian book of the invisible Holy Spirit, the great invisible Spirit, from the Nag Hammadi text. You just bear with me. I've got no format for what I am to say, not to say. Only just going to skim through the most important parts to try and give a bit of an understanding. There are many people who are struggling to understand what's going on in this text, and there are also people who are claiming to know exactly what it means. They post something and, well, they've not done their homework or made any attempt whatsoever to try and figure out what's going on. So quite a few catalysts for me doing this. Before we actually read through really the first part, the most important part of this text, I need to try and explain a little bit about origins. The age-old question, if God made this and God made that, well, who made God? Well, difficult to explain because it's all at a level, quantum, that we really do not understand or perceive. So I'll do my best to try and skim through and it will give us a better understanding of when we come to read the text. So, in the beginning, there is light. It was always there, it's always existed. Quantumly, in the size of a pinhead, but yet it fills every space that is to be filled. It's just light. Many people are under misconception that you can't have one without the other. You need light and dark to balance. This is not true. Light exists perfectly, harmoniously within itself. It does not need anything to balance it. It's only when dark is introduced that we get chaos. So, it's difficult to imagine, but it's light, just light, and it exists. It's always been there. It's never been any different. Within its own evolution, the easiest way to explain it is if you imagine that the light, it starts to, within its own evolution, it starts to heat up. It becomes hot, and within the heat, you start gaining electrical charges, and within electrical charges, you start getting fire. And within the fire, there's condensation, which creates water. So the evolution of light within itself, you are getting the elements, not the elements what we know upon the earth. These are very different elements, but yet of fire, of water. These elements all mix and work together. So it's difficult to understand, because if there's a fire, we throw water on it and put the fire out. These are elements that actually, where the fire and water work together as one, same as other elements that we really aren't aware of. So, as everything heats up, you've got electrical charges, you've got condensation, you've got water, so to speak, even to where they tested the atomic bomb in the Nevada desert in America. the heat was so intense that the sand, it turns to glass. So the heat is so intense, you've even now getting, so to speak, walls of glass, which within itself is a physical sense. So hot, it's turned into different colours, black obsidian. It's very difficult to put across, but I hope I'm giving an indication or a guide as to how things started. So you've got the fire, you've got water, you've got movement, which is sort of air, and within the movement of the fire, as it moves, as everything is moving around, the fire, it kind of, if you like, takes on a certain form, a form of something. And within that form, within the reflection of glass, of water, it's caught sight of itself, a reflection that's brought it into awareness. This is now quantum observation. So as soon as it catches awareness of its form, of its reflection, boom, we have noise. We have everything now going on. Everything is brought out of the silence through this observation of self-awareness. The quantum question, if a tree falls in a forest, but there's no one there to observe it, does it make a noise? This is a scientific question, what gets bandied around quite a lot. Also, scientists have done experiments where they shoot particles out of a laser through a piece of cardboard with two slits and a piece of cardboard at the back, and the particles go through the slits in a chaotic form and just random wherever. When the scientist observes the particles, they start behaving in an orderly fashion. Even if the scientist is not observing himself but has a digital camera on the side, somehow these particles know they're being observed and start behaving in a particular way. It's all quantum at levels that it's difficult for us to understand. So, out of the silence, the reflection of itself brings an awareness, and the observation brings everything out of the silence. The original Lord's Prayer in 1st century Aramaic, so, O thou from whom comes the breath of life and fills the realms with light, sound and vibration. This is a good way to describe how everything is all, how everything is really started. So within this, you also have to piece together other things from other texts. If we go to the New Testament in one of the Gospels, maybe John, in the beginning was the Word. We know the Word always refers to the Christ. He is known as the Word. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This ties into it also. And the Christ, who is the Son, the only begotten, is also the Father. They are one of the same. And this is where it gets a bit complicated. So, the disciples were always saying to Jesus, who was in fact the creator, the one who brought all things out of the silence, manifest upon the earth within the body of Jesus. He was also the Father, he was also the Son. And trying to explain these things to the disciples, he will talk about his Father a lot. And the disciples would ask, how would we know the Father? How would we recognise him? And Jesus would say, I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. So whoever sees me sees the Father. They are one of the same. I think there's a few passages in the Pistis Sophia where Jesus refers to himself as Abramentho, his name, which basically means Father who is the Son, or the Father within the Son. And also he refers to the Father of his Father being called the U, Y-E-W, as in yew tree, or you as in sheep. So there are quite a few little pointers as to what is going on here, and it's quite important to understand this, otherwise it helps to understand the Nag Hammadi text. And also, one of the last things that Jesus said to Mary Magdalene just before he died, I will always be in you. That's very important as well. So the Father now, the great invisible Spirit, through his own natural evolution, just pure light, has now observed and brought everything out of silence into being. As this happens, other levels are now being created, as above, so below. So, now if we go to the text, I will skim. I'm not going to read all of it word for word. We're just going to skim through it quick to the important parts. So the holy book of the Egyptians about the great invisible Spirit, the Father whose name cannot be uttered. Why can his name not be uttered? Well, this is where these vowels come into it. These vowels are the name that cannot be uttered, the unspeakable name. And there's reasons for this, I'll explain shortly. Who came forth from the heights of perfection, the light of the ions of light. So we're talking just the pure light that came forth and brought forth other lights into being. The Father of the silence. Now this is why I explained about how the quantum, the observation, because you get the silence of the silence mentioned quite a lot in the first part of this text, and now we can understand what the silence means and what the silence is. The light of the Word, who is the Son, and the truth, and the infinite light that was always there, always was. Unmarked, ageless, unproclaimable Father, self-begotten, self-producing. There's nothing there before. So he is the immeasurable. There is nothing there to measure before. He is the nameless, the ageless, and the fatherless. There was nothing before him to name. He didn't have a father, and he's ageless. The powers that came forth from him are the Father, the Mother, and the Son from the living silence. You see, the Son from the living silence, who is also the Father. They're one of the same. This is where it can get a little bit tricky for some people now, so I'll do my best just to skim through and explain as best as what I can. And from that place, Domadon Doxomodon. So, Domadon Doxomodon is just, I believe, a Greek interpretation that means dwelling of righteousness, or a house of righteousness. If we go, and I think it's quite important that I just quickly explain this. If we go some of the Solomonic cleansing texts, we have Adonai, most powerful; El, most strong; Agla, most holy; On, most righteous. So you can see where the connection comes in there. Domadon, Doxomodon, came forth. It's not the name of God. It is just the dwelling, the realm that is created. It's a realm, a dwelling of righteousness. From the Ion of Ions, who is the Father, and the light of each of their powers. And thus came the Son, came forth, the Mother fifth and the Father sixth. So people are getting a bit confused here as to, well, if you've got the Father, the Mother and the Son, but yet there is the Son who came forth, the Mother fifth, and the Father sixth. So all this really means is that coming out of the silence and bring the observation and bringing things into being. First of all, you have to have the thought, the thought of the Father, the Mother and the Son. And then that is within itself, it's all as one. And then after the thought is then much like what we would do creative visualization on the astral levels. The thought, and then that thought manifests again outwardly. It's still part of the one, but now you have something of also independent thinking. So it's first the thought of the Father, the Mother and the Son, and then that manifests outwards, which is why it says the Son forth, the Mother fifth and the Father sixth. It's another manifestation, but of independent thinking also. And from that place, three powers came forth, the three Ogdoads. Well, Ogdoad is just a set of 8. The Father brings forth in silence with his providence from his bosom, the Father, the Mother and the Son. So, his bosom here, which is the heart, is what they're talking about now. The first Ogdoad, because of which the thrice male came forth. Now, thrice male is the Father, it is the Mother, who is known as the male virgin, and it is the Son. It is what was first created within this heart, which is what they mean by bosom, and which is the thought, the word, and the incorruption and the eternal life, the will, the mind, and the foreknowledge, the androgynous Father. So this is the thrice male that is the Father, the Mother and the Son within him. And then the second set of 8 is with the Mother. The virginal, again here, Barbellon. It's the Barbello is now got an N on righteous, who presides over the heaven. The ineffable Mother, she originated from herself, came forth, and agreed with the Father of the silence. So the mother originated from herself. This is, again, just the thrice male, the thought within itself of the father. The mother, because at some point the father has noticed a different polarity. That's all I can say really on that for the moment. You've got the clockwise and the anti-clockwise. The third Ogdoad power, the son of the silence, and the crown of the silence. The crown is the seventh chakra, and also the first chakra, the root. The root is the same as the crown; they are one of the same, which comes back to the first, the last, the beginning, the end, the alpha and the omega. It's a never-ending. Yes, so the crown of the silence, and the glory of the father, and the virtue of the mother, who brings forth from the bosom the seven powers of the great light of the seven voices. And the word is their completion. So the word is the sun. And that's the third Ogdoad, which is Ogdoad is a set of 8, and now you've got 8, 8, 8, which is the number of the Christ. And these three powers, three Ogdoads that the Father, through his providence, brought forth from his bosom. He brought them forth at that place, his heart. Dominon Doxomedon came forth, the ion of the ions, that's the realm, and the throne which is in him, and the powers which surround him, and the glories and the incorruptions, the Father of the great light who came forth from the silence. He is the great Doxomedon ion, in which the thrice male child rests, and the throne of his glory was established. So the throne of glory is the heart. This is where the first thought of the Father, the Mother and the Son, the thrice male, rests. After that, they are manifested outwardly of independent thinking, but also still one of the Father. And the throne of his glory was established in it. This one on which his unrevealable name is inscribed on the tablet. It doesn't actually say, but I believe it's a stone tablet. One is the Word, the Father of the lights of everything, he who came forth from the silence. While he rests in the silence, he whose name is an invisible symbol, a hidden, invisible mystery came forth. So, sometimes when we read texts, we are reading line to line, paragraph to paragraph, and we believe we're reading a story from beginning to end, like Revelation in the Bible. It's very difficult to understand, but actually there are different timelines, and it has a tendency to go back, and so we can get a little bit confused. So the throne of glory is in the heart, and that is within, I can't say all of us, but it's within most of us. The thrice male child, the Father, the Mother and the Son. The name, it is unspeakable and it is unutterable, because at this level it's not something we can comprehend. The closest thing we can get to the true name of God is these vowels. The true name is not really vowels, it's actually more of musical notes, which are continuous and never ending. A start without an end. It's just a continuous series. You could say vowels, but more a series of notes, which are really just too, obviously too difficult to emulate, but we have been given these vowels which can bring us the closest we can to the heart, the throne of glory. So the heart obviously is where the Christ consciousness exists, in the heart centre. And as for the hidden symbol, the reason it's a hidden symbol is because we cannot see it, because we are not at that level, in that place. It's like trying to see something on one of the astral levels from here. We can't. If we happen by accident to fly past it, we would see it. There's no big mystery in that. Right, so a hidden, invisible mystery came forth. This is the first mystery in which Jesus speaks of in the Pistis Sophia. Before we just get to the vowels, there are a couple of other things that I'd like to point out which would help us understand the vowels. Because the vowels are to help us understand the true name of God, and when we have an understanding of this name through the heart, it brings us closer to Him. And that's where magical things will happen. Further on, I'll just quickly skim through it. Further on in the texts, we have a couple of names that we should be aware of. The thrice male child of the great Christ, instead of now saying the Father who brought things out of the silence, he's now being called the Christ. They're one of the same. Whom the great invisible Spirit had anointed. Okay, anointed, that's an important word. Whose great power was called Ainon. A-I-N-O-N. There we have that righteous on at the end. Ainon. So, in bringing everything out of the silence, that quantum awareness of seeing a reflection of yourself that brings that self-awareness, I believe we would be talking about an eye, or something that would refer to an eye, because it looks and it sees. There you have that word, whose great power was called Ainon. Ainon, anointer, the anointed one. It's very, very close to Ain, which in Hebrew is eye or eyes. And if we just take the A-I-N, Ain, you have the Ain, the Ain Sofer, the Ain Sofer, which the Ain is the nothingness, which would be in the silence. There is another couple of names I would just like to refer to. If we go a little bit further on, then providence came forth from the silence, and the living silence of the Spirit, and the word of the Father, and a light. Here now we come to 5 seals. which the Father brought forth from his bosom, again from his heart. So 5 seals. 5 seals are 5, if we like, 5 trees. One would be a yew tree, the father of my father, who is called the yew. They are, if you like, they are trees, and the trees would make up a pentagram, a 5-pointed star. I'm sure we've all seen the pentagram. It's the 5 points of thought which create form. And established thrones of glory and myriads of angels without number who surrounded them, powers and incorruptible glories, who sang and give glory. So you see, there are many things now being created. There's no timeline to this, but there are many things now being created. There was just, if I could find the name, there's a name which refers to the male virgin who is with him, Yule. So it's Youel, Yule. And the male version of that is, I can't find it, Youl, Yule. Yule, and it really the spirit of the male virgin, Yoel. It's important because it's now referring. It's understanding of the name. It's you. Remember Jesus' last words before he died to Mary Magdalene was, "I will always be in you," and I'm referring to an I. Youel. Jesus saying that the you, who is the father of my father, they're all pointers as to the name. And there is, you may not be able to see this brilliant, but I think you'll know the vowels that I'm referring to. You do have to say them in a childish way, as if you are learning vowels, learning to read. There's no other way it can be done, and I will. It's very simplistic in its form, but there's a couple of other things I will throw in what actually aren't in any other manuscripts or texts or documents. So that's it. It's being said, if you like, in 2 different ways, in 2 different dialects, if you like, because it's being said by 2 different entities. One is being said by the Father, the other is being said by the Son. If you like, they are naming themselves at the same time when they have that independent awareness. It's just the vowels are asking you to pronounce it in a different way. It's very simplistic within itself. And of course, it says the 7 vowels 22 times each. All it's asking you to do is just to keep repeating it, and the more you repeat these vowels, I, you, your heart, that throne of glory in which the Christ consciousness rests, picks up the vibration of the name of what you are saying. And you may even find yourself saying other words, other mysteries. My advice would be to pick quite a high vibration or frequency, say something of a third octave, maybe as high as what you can in the key of E. Take a big breath and just and let it vibrate throughout your whole body. It needs to vibrate. When you keep repeating it, there's another couple of names in there. There's another way. Okay, so now this is another way of pronouncing another part of the name as it progresses. One. Only there's no N after the O. We are one. If you notice when we get to this bit here, the middle U and E, we are almost, we can pronounce an L, the consonant L, as a vowel. Ow, 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 ow. We are, you, we are, you, we are. We're going to get to the name Uriel. It's there, it's in there, Uriel. There's another name in there, what you won't find in any texts at all. It's a name that I was not aware at the time when I was given the name, what it meant or what it was for. I would just digress for just a moment to explain this. I had just spent 5.5 months completing the ritual of the Abramalion. And this is a ritual where, now you can read upon it yourself, but it's where you make contact with a holy guardian angel. Now, it's not your guardian angel or birth angel, or this is something that's more higher with power authorization. The idea being that once you have made contact with your holy guardian angel, it then gives you authorization to control not only the light angels but also the dark, so you can work unimpeded away from the dark, because after you've gained this authorization, you're supposed to spend so much time convocation of the good spirits, where the angels will come in and swear an oath, and then the convocation of the bad spirits, where you had the old chief princes and they swear an oath and then give you some of their servants in which to, I was told not to do any convocations, but to start binding straight away. So you can read many texts on the internet, and these people, and they say that they go into their circle and summon Goetia, and the Goetia don't want to play ball with them, and they threaten them with a little black box to make the goetic spirit play ball and give what it really doesn't work like that. You have to have authorization in order to use the little black box, which is part of the spirit's chain curse. If you don't have that authorization, the spirit will just come in and look down and say, well, you have summoned me, but by what authority? You're asking for trouble. So, yes, Holy Guardian Angel, very close to God himself, we would believe. After 5.5 months of this ritual, I then finally see the Holy Guardian Angel, who I don't even really remember the image now, it was that long ago, but I remember thinking that does actually look what you would see an image of Christ or Jesus. Just that typical image. And then in this silver glittery writing, something was being spelt out, and I had to look a bit more closely, and I said, Aaron, and this voice said, Aaron. I was like, okay. Not a name I'd ever heard of before. I believe it was A-H-R-O-N. We have that O-N again at the end. After looking this name up, I believe it just simply means big mountain or strong mountain. So there's something else in there now that and once you start vibrating these vowels yourself, you will most certainly gain your own words, your own understanding. It will be very personal to you. So we are one, but there's no N. We have to remember now, it's the first, the last, the beginning, the end, the alpha and the omega. It's the root and the crown. It's a never-ending loop. So when we get to the O, we have to go back straight to the I at the top. We are one I. We are one I. Again, now it's referring to an I. We are one I. R1, R1, R1. We are one I. Uriel, Aaron. These are just personal to me, but I try and explain this because this is what it's the name that you get out of it that brings you closer to the Christ consciousness. The rest of the text, this is Gnosticism from, I believe, the Sethian text. So Seth is going to be in the hierarchy somewhere. Not once have I ever heard or ever known Christ to be called Seth anywhere. And as you read on, the timelines are not good, but then it starts to talk about the birth of the dark, how it was sourced. You get archons thrown in there like Adamas, luminaries, which are luminaries of light. Why does light need luminaries? It doesn't. So the dark is mimicking what it sees. I am the one, the only one, there is no other but me. I am a jealous God. There is no other but me. This is the dark, a false God that is trying to mimic what it sees. And there are names in here of the archons, dark, Gamaliel, Gabriel. These are names of archons of the dark. In fact, I'm pretty sure with the Pistis Sophia, where Sophia is actually Sophia, who is, if you like, a sister to the Christ. It's the female energy of the Christ. If you split it, it's the sister. It's what's called a syzygy. Sophia is trying to create something by herself without a male polarity. And what she creates is Yaldabaoth is dark, it's twisted, Saklas, you're a fool. Yaldabaoth, child of chaos. Samael, blind. You're blind. You do not see. There are many before you, and from there, this dark is trying to create what it sees from the light of Sophia, which actually is a water. Water holds the memories. It's the water of Sophia, that element of which this dark, twisted whatever is now trying to mimic what it sees, but it can't, because it itself does not have a male polarity. It was birthed without that. So everything it creates now is not only a female, but a mishmash of all sorts of weird, horrible stuff. So you get, in the Pistis Sophia, there's a section where the Christ needs to go and pull Sophia out of the chaos that Yaldabaoth has pulled her into to still absorb that light. And it says that going up through the veil on the left, the Christ takes on form and mimics a Gabriel. So Gabriel is of dark, and the Christ mimics a Gabriel to cut straight through the veil, to get straight to Sophia, to pull her out of the chaos. It's very complicated, because everything upon this earth and the angels that we know, most have been mimicked, because it has mimicked everything that it sees. In the real heavens, we have Michael, we have Raphael, we have the other angels, and it mimics those. That's all it can do. So unfortunately, a lot of the time where people are trying to contact certain archangels, they are in fact getting mimics, which nobody really knows about that, as in Metatron. Never of light, Metatron, or Metatron is just an aspect of Yaldabaoth, which just absorbs the light of children. It's if we go as Yaldabaoth is trying to create different things, there's different aspects of itself, and this is where all the Goetia come from, and they're just different aspects of what was Yaldabaoth. And it's the same. If we trace the route back, we are going to come back to what we would know as Lilith. Demonic, succubus. This is the name we would know her by now, but it's the same. Gamaliel, Gamiel, Gabriel, all female. There is no male energy in any of this Goisha or any of the line of this Yaldabaoth, Samael. Blind God. So, all female. And this is what it was all about. The incursions with the Watchers, the Nephilim, and other incursions as well. It was about the DNA. It's about getting that DNA, the male and the female DNA together. If it can do that, it can then class itself and create as a god, but it can't. And this is why the dark was never allowed to tread the earth, because from this physical level we can work and observe in a way that gives us a head start over the dark. They cannot tread this earth as physical. They cannot get the DNA, which is what all the incursions were about. The war in heaven. You know, there was not just one war in heaven, there was many. I divert now away from this, but I'm just being, I think, guided now to talk about a few other things which may be of importance, because this all leads back to Sophia as well, which is the female energy. And here, of course, we come to Satan. So Satan is not an actual name, it's an aspect of Lilith, of Samael. It's a mishmash of different aspects. That wishes to call itself the Antichrist. So Satan, it just simply means an adversary or an accuser, false accuser, to be more specific to the point. We have a perfect example of this if you read the story of Job. It's quite an eye-opener. So God is in his assembly with the 24 elders. I don't think the real God of light needs an assembly or elders. We're talking about a false God now, who has mimicked just everything what it sees. And Satan walks into the assembly. Now that really tells us there's something not right here, because the light, the true God, and something like Satan, even if there was an assembly, he would never be allowed in. It's completely separate. And interestingly enough, the false God says to Satan, what have you been doing? And Satan says, I'm just to and fro, backwards and forwards from the earth. And it's the false God that says to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Isn't that strange? Yeah, there's a big story behind that, but we don't need to go into it now. So the real name of Satan, which is an aspect of Yaldabaoth, but it's an aspect which is divided amongst itself. It's conflicted, it's fragmented. Part of this self doesn't wish to be controlled. In fact, it covets the throne. It wants the throne that Yaldabaoth sits on. Its real name is Wormwood. There's only ever one reference to the real name of Satan, wormwood, and that is in Revelation. I can't exactly remember where. Some people are now believing wormwood is a star that falls somewhere out there, something hidden that's going to crash into the earth, and it's not. The real name of Satan is wormwood, which is also part of Samael, it's part of Lilith, it's part of many other aspects of actually what was the Goetia. People who are summoning Goetia now, you are not getting Goetia. What you are getting is probably lower astral entities that like to mimic those that were more powerful. So you're better off just doing the vows, reaching that throne that lies within us, and great things will happen. So the rest of the story, it's even mentioned in Sodom and Gomorrah in it, in reference with Seth as well. So there's not actually any timeline to this, but it does talk of the dark, and it's stretching out. It's the roots, and how it does become conflicted within itself. The dark fights amongst itself, but at the same time, before that, it's creating all these archons. So I don't think I have any more to say at the moment on that. There's a lot of other names in there which I don't really think you need to even be bothered with. We have gone through, skimmed through the most important names, the ones that you need. The rest of it is really for another time, when you probably have more understanding of this first mystery. So there's a lot of prayers going off to the Holy Spirit for understanding of this, and for those who pray for understanding of this, bless you, truly. I don't really think I have anything else to add. Yes, I do. There is one other thing I'm just going to skip in very quickly. I know this was the most important thing, is the name of God. I hope I have given enough light or detail or guidance to you then discover, or will be given on your own individual. It will bring you closer, which is really the whole point. There is something somewhere, a psalm maybe. Those pure in heart will see God. Pure in heart, it does not mean no smoking, no drinking, no sex. That's not pure in heart. That is just the way we live, the way we tread the earth, the way we live our life. Pure in heart, having the Holy Spirit, the purity of the Christ consciousness coming through. When you have that, only those pure in heart shall see God. And once you've got that, your throne of glory, and that Christ consciousness which resides there, which will happen through repeating, and you will be guided to, now you know and understand, are you. Great things, magical things will happen. Your understanding and awareness of many things will start to change. purity is you can't live life on this earth pure. It's not possible. This life is here to enjoy. We live, we enjoy. The commandments and the evangelists that will tell us that we're going to burn in hell if we don't do this and we don't do that. No smoking, no drinking, no sex before marriage. No, the true, real God cares not actually for religions or for these things. They are all part and parcel of what it takes to be living in the physical. So when we talk about these things, purity, we have to look at the nature of sin. Thank you. Yes. The commandments given to Moses. Well, we all need rules to live by, but they are commandments given by a false God, because they're all worshipping false idols, and he doesn't like it. It's a jealous God. Here are my commandments. They're the very commandments that the false God lives by, breaks every one of them. It does all of these things but wants no one else to do them. Do you think the real God of light goes toe to toe, squares up to a pharaoh and has to send plagues? And no, that's not how the real God works. Do you think a real God of light, who feels the need to make a covenant with Abraham, is going to ask you to stab your child to test your faith? No, these are things of a false God. If you wish to know the nature, the true nature of the God of light, you look at the life and the teachings of Jesus, because he was the true creator, the God, the Father and the Son incarnate upon the earth at that time for a particular reason. This is how a true God of light behaves. The teachings, the knowledge, the foresight. So when in doubt, ask yourself, is this how a God of light would actually act? So the true nature of sin, for those who are worried if they're doing right, if they're doing wrong, if they're going to hell. No, the true nature of sin is simply this: a purposeful intent to hurt or maim someone else. This is the true nature of sin, and that just about covers everything. A purposeful, willful intent to hurt or maim someone else. That is the true nature of sin. So, when you are praying, asking for forgiveness or whatever it is, maybe now you can look at it in a different way. Think about situations you've been in with different people and, in your life. Should you be saying, asking for forgiveness or whatever it is, for all the bad things that you have done and should not have, and for all the good things you didn't do but should have done? This gives you a different perspective upon forgiveness, upon sin, on what it really means to live your life and have that purity, to make that connection. So, I don't think there's anything else. We got the important bit down, which was the important bit. I thank you all very much for listening to my words, for giving me the opportunity to reach out and help wherever it might be needed. Thank you. May you all be blessed. Thank you.